There is a building in Houston, Texas, that you have almost certainly never been inside, but whose legacy is all around you every time you watch a football game, every time you see an artificial grass field, every time you watch a live event inside a domed arena. It was called the eighth wonder of the world. It hosted Super Bowls, sheltered thousands of hurricane survivors, and for one night in 1995, it held the last concert Selena Quintanilla ever performed. Today, it sits empty, locked, its rainbow-colored seats ripped out and sold as souvenirs, used as an overflow parking lot for the stadium built right next door to replace it. For over 15 years, no one has been able to agree on what to do with it, and a report released in December 2025 revealed that the two options on the table are separated by nearly $700 million. This is the story of the Houston Astrodome, what it built, what it meant, and why America still can't let it go. To understand why the Astrodome mattered, you have to go back to 1952. Houston was a booming city with a problem. Summer temperatures routinely exceeded 97 degrees Fahrenheit with suffocating humidity, and the baseball stadium most fans used was basically an open field with bleachers. Roy Hofheinz, a former mayor of Houston and a man with a flair for the theatrical, had an idea that most people considered impossible. He wanted to build a fully enclosed, climate-controlled domed stadium, one large enough to host professional baseball and football, something that had never been done before, anywhere in the world. His model of inspiration, he later said, was the ancient Roman Colosseum, where Valaria, giant retractable awnings, once shielded spectators from the Roman sun. Hofheinz wanted to do the same thing, but permanently, with air conditioning in Texas. Construction began in 1962. The final structure was staggering in scale. A steel-reinforced dome, 642 feet in diameter and 208 feet tall at its peak. The interior space was so vast that an 18-story building could fit inside without touching the roof. The Astrodome opened on April 9, 1965, to a capacity crowd. Judy Garland and the Supremes performed on opening night. A sold-out exhibition game between the Houston Astros and the New York Yankees drew international press coverage. Time magazine called it the most remarkable building in America. NASA engineers marveled at it. It was listed by many publications as the most significant structure built in the United States in the 20th century. The nickname stuck immediately, the eighth wonder of the world. What followed was a decade of genuine innovation that would shape sports venues globally. The original natural grass playing surface, a specially cultivated Bermuda grass designed for indoor use, died within the first season because two sections of the translucent roof panels had to be painted over to reduce glare for outfielders. Without sunlight, the grass couldn't survive. Faced with a field of painted dead grass, the Astrodome became the first major sports venue to install artificial turf, a product that would be marketed under the brand name AstroTurf, named directly after the stadium. In another world first, the Astrodome installed the Astrolight, the world's first animated electronic scoreboard, a massive 4-story screen that lit up with cartoons of pistols, bulls, and fireworks after every Astros home run. These were not cosmetic touches. They were technological milestones that became industry standards for every venue built after them. The history that happened inside those walls was equally extraordinary. In 1971, Evel Knievel set a world record there for the most consecutive jumped vehicles. In 1973, the famous Battle of the Sexes, a televised tennis match between Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King, watched by 90 million viewers worldwide, was held inside the Astrodome. It was one of the most watched sporting events in American television history up to that point, and it became a cultural landmark in the debate over gender equality in sports. The Houston Oilers and Houston Astros both called it home. 3 Super Bowls and 1 NCAA Final Four were held there. For the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, the largest event of its kind in the world, the Astrodome was the centerpiece for nearly 4 decades. By the mid-1990s, the cracks were beginning to show, and not just in the concrete. The Oilers owner demanded a new stadium and couldn't get one funded. After years of threats, the team relocated to Tennessee and became the Tennessee Titans after the 1996 season. The Astros made a similar move. They left the Astrodome for the retractable roof Enron Field, later renamed Minute Maid Park, at the start of the 2000 season. In 2002, the Houston Texans began play in the newly built Reliant Stadium. Constructed immediately adjacent to the Astrodome, in what may be the most visually symbolic juxtaposition in American sports. The stadium of the future, built in the shadow of the building that defined it, while the original sat idle just a few hundred feet away. The last scheduled event in the Astrodome was in 2002. Its final major tenant, the rodeo, moved next door. Then came 2005. Hurricane Katrina struck the Gulf Coast in late August, and the city of New Orleans was catastrophically flooded. Tens of thousands of people were stranded. The Astrodome opened its doors as an emergency shelter, taking in approximately 25,000 evacuees from New Orleans in the days after the storm. The images were haunting. A building that had once hosted Super Bowls was now filled with cots and emergency supplies. Families were reunited there. People gave birth there. Volunteers worked around the clock inside that dome while the country watched. It was, perhaps, the most human moment in the building's history, and also among its last moments of genuine use. In 2008, the Houston Fire Department declared the Astrodome non-compliant with fire codes and effectively ended public access. In 2013, a county-backed plan for a $217 million renovation was put to a public vote and failed at the ballot box. In 2014, the Astrodome was added to the National Register of Historic Places, which offered it legal protection from demolition. In 2017, the Texas Historical Commission designated it a state antiquities landmark, a status shared with the Alamo and the Texas State Capitol. That designation was a double-edged sword. It prevented the building from being torn down without state approval, but it did nothing to solve the fundamental question of what to do with it. Proposals have come and gone: a luxury hotel, a movie studio, an indoor theme park, an urban park, a convention center. None ever secured the financing or the political alignment to move forward. What the building has become in the meantime is a kind of architectural limbo. Its seats were stripped out and sold. Most of its original interior features were removed or deteriorated. The ground floor is used as an overflow parking facility during events at the adjacent NRG Stadium. Construction crews occasionally enter for maintenance. Security guards keep watch. For over 15 years, one of the most historically significant structures in American sports history, has been used, in practical terms, as covered parking. Then, in December 2025, Harris County released the results of a new architectural study commissioned from Kirksey Architecture. The numbers landed like a headline: renovating the Astrodome to basic operational standards, not a full restoration, not modern upgrades, just making it safe enough to hold events again, would cost an estimated $752 million. Demolishing it would cost approximately $54 million. The gap between save and destroy is nearly $700 million. Harris County officials noted immediately that renovation would not be financially feasible without significant private investment. The Astrodome Conservancy, the nonprofit that has championed the building's preservation for nearly a decade, pushed back strongly, pointing to surveys showing that 85 to 95% of Harris County residents want the building preserved, not razed. As of early 2026, no final decision has been made. The lease agreements with the Houston Texans and Rodeo Houston run through 2032, and those negotiations will almost certainly determine what happens next. The clock is running. There is something almost unbearable about the position the Astrodome finds itself in. It is a structure that did not fail. It succeeded. It was the most innovative sports venue ever built. It defined what a stadium could be for generations of architects and engineers. It absorbed a national disaster with quiet dignity. It is protected by the state of Texas as an antiquity, and yet it stands empty, deteriorating, its story half told, its fate undecided, in the literal shadow of the modern stadium it made possible. There is a word for this in urban history: displacement. Not the kind that happens to people, though that too is part of the story, but the kind that happens to places. When a city builds the future, it sometimes forgets to take the past with it. The Astrodome is not forgotten in the way most forgotten structures are. Everyone knows it exists. Everyone knows it matters. The problem is that knowing something matters has never, on its own, been enough to save it. Whatever happens next, renovation, demolition, or another decade of indecision, the Astrodome has already earned its place in history. It changed what sport looks like. It changed what a building can do during a disaster. It changed the grass beneath the feet of every athlete who has ever played on artificial turf anywhere in the world. Whether or not it survives, that legacy belongs to everyone who ever watched a game under a roof and never once thought to wonder who built the first one. If you found this history worth knowing, subscribing ensures you won't miss the next one. Stories like this one, structures that shaped America and were then left behind, are exactly what this channel is here to find. And there are more of them than most people ever realize.